everybody, and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be talking about Absolute Superman issue 17, written by Jason Aaron, with art and colors by Juan Ferreira, and letters by Becca Carey. The Parasite invades Metropolis as its inhabitants are gruesomely absorbed into the giant, writhing alien body of the being. Lois makes her way through the chaos, trying to contact Jimmy, who she soon finds has been absorbed into the Parasite body himself, begging for Lois to kill him. So holy shit, what a way to open a Superman comic. Parasite is going full on blob, and Juan Ferreira's colorfully terrifying artwork doesn't pull any punches when it comes to the body horror Parasite is thrusting onto Metropolis. Lois pulls her gun and plans on fulfilling Jimmy's wish of death, but she can't pull the trigger, instead diving into the river to escape the horrifying sight, which is really surprising, being that that's so unlike Lois, especially a soldier-trained Lois Lane. But I really like it. She's confronted by something truly horrifying and she doesn't quite understand it or know how to process it, and like we all probably would, she chooses to run from it. It feels like a very human moment. Parasite catches up with Lois in the water, creepily telling her that it doesn't want to be alone anymore and it's very hungry. Superman and Hawkman meanwhile confront the Parasite from above, finding the infection is spreading very rapidly, and in less than an hour, every living thing in Metropolis will be consumed. Hawkman knows that they will have it sorted long before that, speeding off and right through Parasite's maw, exploding out of the creature's head. As he does, it's revealed that the creature's skin is literally made from the still alive people it absorbed, and so Hawkman blasting through it killed a bunch of people. Superman is quick to stop him, explaining that attacking the creature means they will be murdering innocents. Hawkman doesn't really seem to care, planning on attacking again, but Parasite bats him and Superman out of the sky and into a building. The attack makes Hawkman think that he is justified in what he is doing, and he leaves Superman to attack again, telling Cal that thanks to this creature, the city has gotten mighty quiet and the screams that Superman can hear have stopped. I've been loving the dynamic Aaron is writing for Cal and Carter, a Hawkman being the jaded older guy who's been put through the ringer and knows how to toe the line and kind of keep his head under the radar, and Cal being the young hotshot kid who needs to learn some lessons. But what interests me the most about this dynamic is that the usual roles are reversed, where Cal, the young hotshot kid, is in the right. He doesn't need the lessons from the older hero. It's in fact the other way around, where Hawkman, the jaded older hero, needs to learn hope again. He needs to have that thing that inspires him to actually be a hero again and turn against the masters he's working for. Before Hawkman can attack the creature, Superman stops him, knowing they need to find another way. Taking a moment to listen, Cal notices that he can't hear Lois anymore, so he leaves Carter and speeds off to find her. Across the world in Orangi Town, Ra's al Ghul's cell is blown open by Talia, who reveals that she unleashed Parasite on Metropolis as a distraction, knowing Superman will deal with the creature and give her enough chance to break her father out of prison. Getting into Ra's breakout side plot wasn't something I expected to happen so soon, but I like that Aaron is using it as a chance to explore how Superman's rehabilitation of Ra's went, as while Talia thinks she's going to liberate him and take him back to the Lazarus pits, Ra's doesn't actually want to go, and he's a little sad at the idea of his daughter being there to break him out, but his daughter just continuing the cycle of violence and continuing on what he didn't really want to do, and what he's learned was the wrong way of things. Back in Metropolis, Superman saves Lois from being consumed by Parasite, ripping her out of the purple goo of the monster. Freed from its embrace, Lois tells Superman that the people the monster has trapped are in some type of nightmare, as Parasite wants its victims to be terrified and their bodies pumping adrenaline and endorphins around it, as it makes for a tastier treat. This is a pretty good evolution of what Parasite usually is, since usually he zaps you of your energy and you get weak. Sometimes you see people get turned into husks, but this thing is like some type of Pennywise apex predator, where it feeds not just on the body but on the fear, the chemicals that the body creates in a fear response. It's an interesting evolution because it takes something that's horrifying already and makes it even more horrifying, but not in an edgy way. This could easily have been done as like something that's very edgy, because a lot of body horror is just very edgy stuff, but this isn't edgy at all. This is actually just really terrifying. Cal knows that if he pulled Lois free, he can do it to the others, but the arriving Hawkman doesn't think he can do anything, since if these things get its tentacles into Cal, it's game over for everyone. Carter does, however, assure Cal that he'll kill him before that happens though. The argument stops when Lois tells Cal that he didn't pull her out with just his pure strength, it was hearing his voice that really did it, and just knowing Superman was there with her, fighting for her is all it took. Cal knows that he's going to make every single person in the city feel that then, something Hawkman thinks is impossible, and Cal knows it is, so he's going to need 5 minutes. Now this is just such a Superman thing to do, defy the impossible and save everyone. It's a core aspect of Superman, the man who can and wants to save everyone, and will in his power try to do that. Cal also being so sure of himself and who he is now makes this even better. It feels really rewarding. This is his character arc. He now believes that he is the Superman, he is the hero who can help these people and be of service to them. As Superman leaves to confront Parasite, Lois confronts Hawkman, knowing exactly what he is and what he has done, something she's planning on telling Superman all about. Hawkman doesn't care since Cal is going to get himself killed, so he's going to go and stop the creature first. Superman meanwhile confronts Parasite, trying to talk it down, but the creature grabs him, and from the resulting bit of energy it is able to absorb from Superman in an instant, it immediately triples in size, spreading further through the city. Hawkman tries to stop the creature, but thanks to it being powered up by Superman, it is able to capture him really easily, pulling both Cal and Carter into their nightmare worlds. Cal, though, allows himself to be caught, entering the hive mind of Parasite, where he helps out the terrified Carter Hall, presenting himself to Hawkman as a child version of himself. The scared Carter recognizes Superman, explaining that the people he's killed over the years were done so out of the greater good. Cal rips him free from his bindings, telling Carter that he's not alone and he's done all of this for the over 2 million people, cats, dogs, pigeons, and fish Parasite absorbed as well, and he is helping them all at the same time. This is a pretty good look at how this Parasite works, and honestly it's more in depth quite literally than I expected we'd get. I love getting to dive into this whole nightmare world that it creates. I like that it creates a nightmare world for each individual person. Like here, Carter is attacked by the zombified corpses of all the people he's ever killed. Makes me think of the Sarlacc from Star Wars, which that's exactly what it would do. It would slowly digest you while plaguing your mind with visions and nightmares, just to kind of make you suffer a bit more and probably drive up the endorphins in your system. This is also the moment I think will be the real moment of change for Carter too. He's seeing this kid who is able to actually save all of these people and help them, and it might instill a bit more hope in him, and maybe he'll, come to realize, oh, maybe there is a different way of doing things. Carter notices that Cal is just a kid in over his head, and he has no idea what the world really is, and it's going to break him since saints don't survive. Cal tells him he's doing his best to ensure everyone is going to be alright, but he's got a different message for Carter. Before we see that message though, Superman explodes Parasite, freeing all of the people, who he quickly saves from falling to death. Hawkman demands to know how he did that, and Cal, surrounded by the people of Metropolis, tells the man that he is Superman. As Metropolis gets its first taste of the Man of Steel, Ra's agrees to leave with Talia, leaving the little book of poems that Cal gave him behind as he apologizes to Superman, telling him that they are who they are. So I really hope this isn't Ra's going back to his villainous ways. It kind of seems like it is. It kind of seems like they're doing the whole story where it's like, you can't teach an old dog new tricks sort of thing. It's too ingrained in his being to be this villain, so he's just going to go back to being that way. I do wonder if maybe his interaction with Superman will change how he is a villain though. Maybe it makes him a bit more like the eco-terrorist Ra's that we get in the main continuity. Maybe he knows now that the way he was doing things was wrong and is going to try a different way, and that's still going to bring him into conflict with Superman, and maybe that might even test how Superman does things as well. Like maybe Superman realizes, oh, this kind of works but not in the way I thought it was going to work. Maybe I need to change things again. Maybe I need to just do this again with Raish and see what happens. I do still think it's too early to be developing that plot. I would have liked to have seen Raish kind of sit in prison for a little while longer. It is said it's meant to be a couple of months in the book, but it just felt like, we were just 2 issues ago dealing with the Raish subplot, so it just feels way too early to be, busting him out of prison and bringing him back into his villainous ways. In the aftermath of the Parasite attack, Superman finds a small piece of the creature, finding out that it was actually an alien that was stolen from its homeworld by Brainiac and kept in a Lazarus lab where it was studied. Cal plans on taking it back home to his Kryptonian fortress barn in Smallville and holding it there, nursing it on a controlled distillation of his own energy until he can figure out how to get it home. Cal feeling a bit of a kinship with Parasite wasn't on my bingo card at all, but it's an interesting take. Both are probably the last of their races and have been subject to the immense trauma, both at the hands of Brainiac, so I could see Parasite maybe coming back as an ally to Cal, or Cal at least trying to get him back into space. That would be like kind of a cool issue, like a one-shot issue of Cal venturing out into the absolute DCU's cosmic realm to try and find Parasite's home, and we get to see what the cosmic realm in the absolute universe is like and how that has changed under Darkseid's rule. Hawkman comes and finds Superman, impressed with how his plan actually worked, but Superman isn't interested in the old man's praises, wanting Carter to remember what he told him in his head, that he knows he works for Lazarus and he's got a message for them and everyone like them, that he does not sleep and there is nothing they have that can hurt him and he is coming for them all. Superman knows that Carter told him the way the world is written in stone, but for someone like Carter, they can move whole mountains, so why is Carter so afraid of a bit of stone? He wants him to tell his owners that Superman is not for sale, blasting off and leaving Hawkman to call Talia, telling her that they have a problem. Now this is probably the most disappointing part of that. I was kind of hoping that this would be the turning point for Hawkman, like he sees what Superman has done and what Superman tells him and realizes, yeah, I'm kind of in the wrong here. Let's do things this kid's way. Let's see what happens. I didn't expect him to outrightly just immediately team with Superman and now he's a good guy. Maybe they could have told him about something that would drive the plot forward, give Superman the next quest, so to speak, let slip something with a different company or something, maybe what Brainiac or Talia are up to. I'm intrigued to see if he's actually going to be a running threat for Superman, like Hawkman appears every now and then to deal with Superman and Superman just beats him back. But it would be really cool if he ends up turning up in other Absolute books. Like I could definitely see him turning up in the Absolute Green Lantern or the Absolute Green Arrow book, especially the Green Arrow book being that he killed Oliver Queen and Oliver Queen's ghost is seemingly running around. He definitely have a bone to pick with Hawkman. So I could definitely see him turning up in that, but it'd be cool if he ends up becoming like a threat to all these different heroes and they've all got to like deal with Hawkman at some point in time and he sees that they actually changing the tide and it's kind of a combined effort of Superman and all of these other heroes that actually make him, hey, this is actually going well, let's team with the heroes. So I'm intrigued to see where Hawkman turns up next. As Superman goes about his heroic duties, Lex Luthor celebrates one hell of a birthday as Brainiac has captured him, killing his entire family in front of Lex as he tells the terrified man that what happens next is up to him, since he needs to seize this opportunity and make himself interesting to Brainiac. Brainiac frees him from his restraints and we are left with one of the most harrowing pages I have ever seen in a comic book, in a very long while that is, and that is Lex collapses on the floor amongst the dismembered corpses of his family members, and they aren't shy about showing these dismembered corpses. We see like tops of heads, arms, legs, jaws, just like all scattered around the yard, and Lex is just left there bawling his eyes out in terror of what he has witnessed. It's one hell of a final page to round the issue out, but it also leaves a lot of questions. Like, obviously Brainiac was going to Lex to recruit him to help with Superman, but how does butchering his family in front of him make him go after Superman? If anything, it would make him go after Brainiac. I could maybe see them doing something where, oh, now he hates all aliens and wants to get rid of all aliens, but there was probably like a much easier way to do that. Like that feels incredibly thin if this is going to be your linchpin to do that in. So there's definitely something going to go on there. Like maybe he does team up with Superman against Brainiac and they have a falling out. Like Lex wants to kill Brainiac where Superman wants to try and stop him and rehabilitate him, or, end the threat without violence, and that leads them to clash. And I'm very intrigued to see what Lex is going to be like in this universe now, since they've just taken away everything he's ever loved, so he's got nothing left to lose. And what type of a Lex Luthor is that? It's a very interesting take on Lex and not something I was expecting at all. Absolute Superman issue 17 was another fantastic issue that focused on Superman's drive to help those in need, even in the face of impossible odds. But of course, nothing's impossible for the Man of Steel. Jason and Juan's take on Parasite was fantastically horrific, and such a great evolution of the villain and his powers and how to utilize them. Only thing I didn't really like was Raish getting more story time. I thought it was maybe a bit too early for that, being that we just finished up his arc. So for him to kind of break bad a little bit, even though he was being forced into it, felt a little too quick for my liking. However, I'm sure Jason Aaron has a good reason for doing that, and I'm interested to see what that is. I'm going to give this issue an 8.5 out of 10.